Hello to all of you not great parents out there. Welcome to a mini episode of the Not Great Parents podcast. And you might be shocked to hear my voice starting this off. Nathan's in the host seat for this one.
Nathan has taken over for this one.
That's right.
For good reason.
Yeah, Nathan needed to be in the driver's seat. I was tired of not being in the driver's seat.
Yeah, Nathan's like, we've done about 10 of these. It's time for me to take over.
Time for me to steer the ship. So, no. The reason we are doing this will become clear in just a moment. But if you're watching this, you're also aware that we have a third co-host today, normally in the producer chair, also in the youth minister chair, but today joining us as a co-host, Sawyer Hewlett. Good to have you with us.
Yeah.
Welcome, Sawyer.
I know.
The first, not only not great parent, not parent at all.
I know.
He's just not great.
He's just not a parent. He's not.
I'm a better parent than you guys.
No, I think in general, look, we're not great parents. You're just not great. Just in general, not great.
Right.
Yes.
So, this will make clear in just a moment why we have things a little changed up today. But as always, if you're watching this for the first time, the point of this podcast is we are convinced that at Community Christian, there should be no great parents.
Right. We want to be good parents.
Good and godly parents, not pursuing greatness, but pursuing God's goodness for our kids. And that primarily, the way we do that is by ourselves pursuing God's goodness.
Right.
And then also partnering with other not great parents and not great grandparents and not great just people like Sawyer.
Yes.
Within our church to really have this community, to draw them into the church. And so today, if you've already seen on the description, we have a episode with Sawyer and I as well coming out, and our co-host Donnie for the Family Movie Night
Right.
podcast.
Family podcast that everybody loves.
That's right. We're coming back with some more recommendations. But the recommendations that we decided to kind of theme them around is we thought, really a thing that good and godly parents do is that when their kids are learning something at church, right, that they come home and they find ways to try and keep that conversation going. This is what it, kind of means to partner with the church. And so we've themed some movie suggestions around the various things your kids are learning. If you've got a kid in preschool, they've got a theme, and we got movie suggestions for that. If you got kids in elementary, teenage years, and we even have some movie suggestions just for you parents, some things just for you guys to enjoy. Or if you're a single parent and you just want to have, you want to have some viewing on your own that isn't cartoons.
Right. If you want something that's not animated.
Yeah. So whether it's a date night or you're just, kind of having some some me time just after the kids go to bed, we got some suggestions for that. But what Molly and Sawyer are here to do is they're going to kind of give you guys some insight into what it is your preschoolers, your elementary students, and your teenagers are going to be talking about here in the month of May. But before we even get to that, Molly, why don't you explain to them where they can already find all this information?
All right. So every month we have, like we said, we have different themes, and we build that off of materials that are available in our Parent Cue curriculum. And so Parent Cue is an app. We've talked about it on here. Parent Cue is an app you guys can download. You can connect directly to our CCC kind of arm of that app, and you will see each week, based on each of your children, what they're learning, what their topic for the month is and topic for the week is, as well as any Bible verses, and most importantly, some really great topics for you to bring up with them. So when we say partnering with parents, we're not asking you to go home and quiz the heck out of your kids. We're asking
we're actually telling you not to.
Yes. We don't want you to go home. We don't want to send your kids home and have it be some kind of, test or quiz. We want you to go home and really, we want to extend the conversation with your kids and really have it be an interactive communication between you and your children. Yes. And so we want to provide that for you guys. And so that's why we're doing this today. We're talking about the different themes of the month to get you guys started on that. But Again, all of it's available in Parent Cue at any point in time, and it's customized for each of your children. So if you have not downloaded it, please do so, and take a minute to set up each of your kids in there.
Yeah. And when you go in, you'll see down at the bottom of the screen, I did not know this because I'm technically illiterate. Molly had to point out there's a little down arrow right below your kid's name. If you push that, it'll bring up kind of the theme for each individual kid, right? So on each kid's name, you click that down arrow and it has their age-specific stuff. But if you go all the way to the bottom, there are these conversation starters. These are the kind of things Sawyer and Donnie and I would kind of work on in the movie podcast. So like, how do you have a conversation starter with your kid about these things? Well, Parent Cue provides them.
Right, and Parent Cue provides them per age group, because you're going to have you're going to have captivated time with each kid at a different stage. So, mealtime is going to always usually be one, but for younger kids, it's going to be bath time. Certainly bath time is not the time you're going to talk to your teenager about
Hopefully not.
What's going on with them. But it like Nathan said, for each child, you scroll down and it's going to give you the different times. So drive time, bedtime, bath time, mealtime, whatever is age appropriate for them.
This is for my preteen, and we are filming this the Tuesday after Easter. And so this is based on what they learned Easter. And so it says in the morning as your kid starts their day. Once again, I got a fourth grader. So when she starts her day, I just tell them something specific you love about them. And so I just say, hey, I just love the fact that you're always helping out around the house. You're always looking for ways to be involved, to do something good. And it says at drive time, it says, while on the go, ask your kid, what's your favorite way to celebrate something really good happening? Gives you a conversation to have in the car. You should know that's a setup for this next question, which is at mealtime. Our family mealtime, which we'll probably need to do an episode on why it's important to have family meal times. Right. Ours is at lunch because my kids are homeschooled, so we have a big meal at lunch. And the question we would ask everyone at the table is, what can we do to celebrate Jesus' resurrection, right? So you get that. And then finally, at bedtime, there's a prayer of help us to never forget what Jesus did for us through the cross and the resurrection. May we remember your love for us is huge and there's nothing that you can't do.
Right.
So it gives you a way to pray with your kids, gives you a way to have a conversation about what happened Sunday. And here's the deal. This doesn't all have to happen in the same day because this is for the whole week.
Usually it's the same thing for the whole week. So you might hit up drive time one day. Right. Or sometimes I'll hit them up a couple different times. And it's amazing because you get different answers.
And so this gives you a chance as a parent to naturally bring it up. But we want to give you as many as we can. That's why we're going to have the movie night suggestions in a moment. But right now, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about what it is that we're talking about. So I actually want to, instead of going all the way back to preschool, let's start with the teenagers. So Sawyer, if someone watching has a middle school, high school student, what is it you guys are talking about in the month of May? What's kind of the big idea?
Yeah, so, and they do it a little bit differently for the teenagers. We're going all summer is the thing. So we're talking a lot about like how to like develop your faith into being like a leader in your community and stuff like that. And what leading from a place of like following Jesus looks like and how that's probably going to be different than it is in the world and stuff like that. So like something that like I'm excited to talk about is like there's one week where we're talking about how a leader walks with other people through their pain and stuff like that. Because that's like part of like what Jesus does for us and stuff like that. That's so I'm really excited to like start dissecting some of that stuff. And yeah, so like as we go through it, it's just like going to be developing all these tactics that students can use to follow Jesus that are also going to show other people a relationship with Jesus.
So this starts in May, right?
Yeah.
And then will it just build every week?
Yep, until I think the last week is the first weekend in August. So it'll go through all the summer.
So an easy way as a parent, because I know your theme is like start a party.
Yeah,
or something like
That's
that.
the terminology that we're using. The instead of leaders, we're calling them party starters this summer.
Party starters,
exactly.
I love it.
Party starters. There you go.
It's very my vibe.
It's very middle school and high school.
Help your kid start parties.
Yeah,
exactly.
But the idea behind it is that obviously I would assume as a former youth minister myself, the party is life with Jesus.
Yes, exactly.
Jesus invites us to a full and an abundant life. And so I know when you and I and Donnie were kind of talking about what do we talk about movie-wise, a lot of it was how do we get kids to understand a life to the full?
Yeah, exactly.
How do we do movies that kind of bring out this idea of living the best life, which in the teenagers may look like a party, and we may have these movies that kind of show what teenagers think of as life to the full.
Right.
And then you as a parent could have a conversation and go, is that really what, like is a party the best way to have life to the full? Are there other things? Because as in terms of what we're talking about on this podcast, a great life is the one where every day is a party. But a good life is one where I acknowledge there's pain in life. And people I love are going through pain.
Exactly.
And the way to be a party starter or a leader like Jesus is to partner with them in their pain.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like it's an awesome topic because, at that stage, we really do want them to develop their own faith and bring people along with them. So I'm excited to hear how this goes for you guys. I think it'll be great. And as a parent, we all want our kids to lead, and we all want our kids to be, influential over others. And so, teaching them and guiding them to be influential in the ways, the godly ways and the good ways of God, that's exciting.
Well, and I know, Sawyer, this goes to a bigger theme that you're trying to get, especially the older, high schoolers, older middle schoolers, to really take this idea of being an influence in the church. I remember you told, maybe you can kind of share this with the parents who are listening, of at the Easter extravaganza, which was primarily geared towards younger children, because we only let people 5th grade and under hunt eggs. You challenged the high school and middle school students to stick around, to lead games for the younger kids. Some of them were handing out bubbles and doing like sidewalk chalk with younger children. Some of them were just handing out pizza. And then you had a party for them afterwards.
Yeah, exactly.
And you had a conversation with them about why it's important for them to stick around. Can you kind of encapsulate what that was?
I definitely, the thing is, with especially those older students, something that is important to me, and I think is also important to you and this whole church, is like getting them involved beyond the student ministry wing, okay?
In the life of the church.
Exactly. They need to be just as present in the church as random old person and stuff like that. That's been
we
around
love
for
random old person.
Absolutely. They're literally the pillars of our church is the thing.
We do.
Don't worry, random old person.
Yeah.
I know your name. Yeah. I was thinking of it.
Okay,
but I'm not going to
rattle off names.
I'm not going to name you because you don't know you're random or old.
Exactly.
But I know how old you are and how random you fit in. But go ahead.
No, building up that confidence in students is really important. Showing them that they are just as vital in the church as anyone.
Right. And that they play a role in the life and the body of the church.
Exactly. And so on Easter, actually, I got to talk at them just very briefly. All that I hammered home with them was how proud I was of them as their leader, like seeing them show up to the extravaganza and lead games and be friendly around little kids. And even like for the high schoolers, I was really proud of how they were friendly with the middle schoolers, because it can be really difficult if you're a high schooler and there's some snotty 6th grader that's like trying to like follow you around everywhere.
No one knows a snotty 6th grader.
Yeah, that's right.
But like, no, I was really overwhelmed by the strength that they showed and the resolve and the leadership that they showed. Awesome. And I'm excited to talk about it all summer with them.
Well, and I think as parents, what we want, you said every parent wants their kids to be the influencer, to be the leader in the situation, but they never see themselves this way. Once again, I did youth ministry for a long time here at the church, and the number one thing that was so important to me, and I know it's important to you, for our youth, is for them to start to see there are younger students who look up to you, and your presence is enough, but you being, in this sense, legitimately the party starter, being the one at the games going, hey, this is fun. This is cool. Yeah, come bounce around in the bounce house. I'm not too cool for Jesus. Yeah. I'm not too cool for church, says a lot. And what it does for your teenager, if you're a mom or dad, and sometimes it's a struggle to get your 8th grader to come to church because they don't think it's cool, it's fun. Get them here, because what it ultimately does is when they start to invest in someone else, it makes the things that they previously thought as dumb or cheesy or corny or cringe, right? They start to see this life. It's the most addicting thing they can do to end up. It's the most exciting thing they can do on a Sunday is invest in another person. And this is a chance for you to talk about that. So.
And I, as an elementary school parent, want that for my children, right? So I
want them to see.
I want this to be so successful, and my children get led by those older children. So then when they're at the time when it's time to do this, then I also see them do it in return. Yeah. That's what it means to be part of a community, to contribute into a community. So,
and it's really important. So we hope you'll have those conversations. Let's talk a little bit about the elementary, the elementary kids. So these are kids 5th through kindergarten?
So this will be at 1st grade through 5th grade.
1st grade through 5th grade, okay.
First graders through 5th graders.
So what are they learning about in May?
So in May, the theme is Raise Your Game, which so we always have some fun stuff that goes around that. So it'll look like a bunch of video games and things like that. Okay, cool. But that's not really what we're talking about.
Like, I mean, I hope it is.
Get a lot better at your video game playing. That's not necessarily what we're talking about. We're talking about confidence, and we're talking about understanding how God is big in all the big scenarios and your small situations, and that because of him, you can have confidence and trust in him in those moments. So I think it'll be really, it'll be really good, because I think at that age, kids tend to have a hard time seeing. I mean, we all do at different ages, but seeing that, you know, we can go through hard things confidently, knowing that God is there with us, even in the small stuff that seems, you know, tiny, and the things that are gigantic.
And I think, Molly, this goes really good once again to our entire theme of good, not great, in that this age of 1st through 5th grade is where you first start developing a lot of skills. You know, if you're going to play sports, because of how competitive sports are, if you start sports in 8th grade, you're going to be vastly behind everything else. So you got to start developing those skills in 1st grade.
Right.
You got to start developing them in 2nd grade. And we, you know, that's what great parents do, is I develop those kind of skills.
Right.
But what a good and a godly parent does, maybe in addition to those skills, but where their focus is I want you to be confident in God. And hey, you're not going to be the best at everything. And you are going to struggle at some things.
And things are going to be hard.
And yes, life is going to be hard, but you can do hard things because God is with you and you can be confident. And we want our kids, certainly I want them to have self-confidence. Right. I want them to know they're capable. I want them to know that they're strong. But where I want them to know most is even when they're not, that they need to rely on Jesus.
That is very true. And we'll be speaking to specific stories. The kids have been going through a 1 year, they've been going through the Bible for the whole past year. I think since July is when we started it. So they're getting towards the back half. We're in the New Testament. So all the stories that will support this will be scenarios from the New Testament with Jesus and his followers, and them actually having situations where they leaned into God and into what they learned from Jesus to deal with some really hard things.
Well, that's great. I think that's going to be really exciting. So once again, we're going to have some movie suggestions to help with that. But lastly, let's talk about what and this is preschool.
This will be kindergarten and below.
Kindergarten and below.
So the toddlers will have the toddlers.
Go ahead and get your random young person in mind.
Yes, get any
random baby in mind.
Get that cute face in mind.
That's
here.
Right,
it could be a baby, it could be a toddler, it could be a preschooler, it could be a kindergartner. And they are going to be talking, their theme is around, it's going to look like a bunch of superheroes and things like that. So they are talking about how God made them to help others. So that we are made in God's image and God helps others. And so therefore God has made them to be able to help others. So each week they're going to talk about, what God's done for them, and also how they can help their friends and how they can look for different ways to be helpful. And everybody knows that age is kind of naturally helpful.
Yeah.
And that's because it comes from God. And so we're just building on that. And so get ready for some cute pictures of kids dressed up as all kinds of
wonderful. I can't wait.
Community helpers.
I don't have
things like that.
Any kids that fit into this age group anymore. Well, but what I was going to say is, even if you're an older parent, this is a reason to follow us on Instagram. You get to see a lot of these pictures from Children's Ministry. I don't have any kids in my home that are that young, but as a part of the church family, I know a lot of these. I know your children.
Yes.
And I know a lot of the children in our church, and it brings such joy to my heart to get to see them dressed up like Baby Yoda or a groundhog or whatever.
I'm just going to say this. We have a volunteer in one of our classes, and she says every week how much she learns from what we're doing in the class. And so,
but this is a very basic concept.
It's a basic concept of God made me to help others. But I bet there's some adults listening that have never really thought about that.
Or some adults sitting on this set.
That would be Nathan or I.
Yeah, but I think the truth is that basic concept that we're kind of breaking down for children is just so pivotal it's a building block to get them to the point of my life is not my greatness and what skills it's that God made me he blessed me to be a blessing. He helped me so I could help others. That's basic, and there are ways to do that. So we got some movie suggestions for that. So we're gonna go ahead and toss it to me in the we're gonna take it away, Nathan. Well, thank you, Nathan, for tossing it to me. I gotta say, you do a great job at what you do. But I want to welcome everybody to the Family Movie Night podcast segment of the Not Great Parents podcast. As always, we want to help you have better conversations around the content you consume. Let me introduce my wonderful co-host here. As always, the hero of this podcast. It's me, Mario himself, Donnie Dorsey. How you doing?
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I'm here. I'm ready to go.
That's
ready
right.
To do this.
Yeah. And then, of course, the villain of this podcast. No, I'm not talking about Bowser. I am, of course, talking about the shy guy himself from Luigi's Mansion, Sawyer Hewlett, just in a Jawa type hoodie, walking around. How you doing, man?
You know, it's becoming a thing on this podcast that I'm not actually the villain. I'm just the most pathetic character that you can think of from 100%, any particular movie. 100%. And either we need to change the terminology or you need to start giving me the good villains, okay? Because come on, man, this is getting pathetic, okay?
Are you saying I should treat villains with more respect?
Yes, okay?
I disagree. I might say a hard pass on that. But of course, those are vague and oblique references to the fact that this Tuesday, I believe that this podcast airs, the Super Mario Brothers movie should be available to rent digitally. And I thought this is not necessarily one of the movies we're going to recommend. I think at this point, I'm the only one of our hosts who has seen it. But I thought in terms of our elementary series on video games and growing in confidence, I think certainly the Super Mario Brothers movie knocks it out of the park on that. I've seen it. I went and saw it with my family in the theaters. My youngest daughter literally said to me, best movie ever. So I think as parents, it may not be a home run because it's a little cheesy in parts. And it's a pretty basic story. It's not like the Lego movie or Into the Spider-Verse or one of those animated movies that redefines the genre, but I think it's a lot of fun. So I think you couldn't go wrong watching that movie with your elementary students and having a good time. But as the great co-host Nathan has already said, which once again, just very handsome, good looking dude all around. We are going to be recommending some movies that kind of talk about, or at least give you the chance as a parent to talk about some of the things your kids and teenagers are talking about. And so we've kind of split this up in a lightning round kind of way where each of us is going to kind of bring a movie, and we've split it up where in each round, two of us will tackle each category. We're going to tackle the preschool. We're going to tackle preschoolers.
I'm glad that I'm not in that category. Okay.
Donnie, you got your running shoes on?
Absolutely. I got my Nikes on.
Donnie, you're a dad. You've had preschoolers. I bet you've tackled a preschooler more than once.
I mean, it's kind of part of the job. Like, I mean, at some point in time, your child is going to try to outmaneuver, and you're like, I got to remind you that I was a preschooler at once, and I too can move.
Yeah.
Like the best of them.
Well, are you even a dad if you don't come home and immediately grab your children and toss them around the room as if they are just a bag of beans?
And they go, wee!
Yes, they get so excited. They're excited to be punched in the side of the head. They love it. It's just the way my girls always come up and go, Daddy, are you going to tackle me now?
You know, this is not going to look good for me in 12 years when this podcast is viewed in a court in court or something like that. Okay, this is not.
Were you okay with these dads tackling their children? All right, very good. But we're going to be tackling the subject that the preschoolers will be handling to the rescue
about being a hero. We're going to be talking about the elementary Raise Your Game, about growing in confidence. And then the teenagers are talking about being a party starter. And then finally, we're going to have a couple things that we might recommend just for you as parents to kind of enjoy in your own time. So let's just go ahead and start with To the Rescue. This is for our preschoolers. This is kindergarten down, I believe. And so, let's talk about this. Donnie Dorsey, what movie or TV show did you kind of want to recommend for parents to watch with this kind of theme?
So, this is a show that my kids have, I guess specifically, my daughter has watched, and my son has kind of been watching it with her. Is I gotta say, I mean, it's Gabby's Dollhouse. I'm sorry, like they just have some really good themes of helping each other out and working together.
My girls also love Gabby's Dollhouse, so I get it. I get it.
It's such a. I mean, they learn all of these like little neat ways to help each other out and working together and just being creative. I mean,
yeah, it's a very practical kind of show. Donnie, do you want to kind of explain what Gab, for parents who don't know, and Sawyer, who we know is the most avid fan of Gabby's Dollhouse?
I was about to say, I've literally never even heard of this show. So.
Oh, we believe you, Sawyer. We believe that you've never watched this show. Yes. Okay, so Sawyer, who's never seen it before, let's just, no, it's okay. It's all right, Shy Guy. We get it. We get it. This and Bluey, those are your Homestead shows. So very good. Donnie Dorsey, what is Gabby's Dollhouse about?
Oh, it's about this this young girl like named Gabby that like kind of uses a magical pair of like cat ears, and it shrinks her down in size, and like she goes into all these different like scenarios with her different animals. One of them is like a magical cat. There's like a DJ that's a cat. There's a car that talks and things like that. There's a pillow cat. Like there's numerous different characters, and like they all kind of have these special places inside of this little dollhouse they have that they represent different activities and different like personality things. And it's just like, and they just go through all these different things. They sing songs, and they just, it's just entertaining. Like they are constantly acting it out and just playing. It's a fun thing to watch them enjoy it.
So I have a question.
No,
right? Because you've never seen this show before, so you would have so many questions.
On the cat ears and shrinks down. Has she ever shrunk down to the quantum realm by any chance and fought like a multiversal terrorist by any chance?
No, because you actually, she doesn't do that because she can't get that small yet. She's only at dollhouse small. Like she's not at like germ size small. Yeah, they're building that up. That's actually going to be for season 12.
Gotcha.
Yeah. It's going to be Gabby versus Ant-Man. And it's just going to be it's going to be crazy.
Dark Ant-Man.
Yes, exactly.
I like this. I like that Sawyer is engaging on this and pretending that he doesn't know about Fluffy Flufferton and that's not the feline pop star that he stands hard. So I like this. It's good. This is good, Sawyer. That's right. Very good. All right. So I have I kind of came up with multiple content because I didn't know what you guys were going to bring. And so I was trying to like outmaneuver you guys in case you brought something that I was going to bring. So of course, I mean, if you're talking about teaching young kids to be helpful, you got to be watching Paddington or Paddington 2. I mean, so these are two great movies. We've talked about them before, so I'm just throwing that out there. HBO Max. Here's the one though that is my piece of content that I'm bringing to the plate today. This movie is a movie that I think it is the first of this kind of genre that I ever saw as a kid. I think I've seen it more than any of the other films, kind of in its oeuvre. And this movie is a movie about a young girl who moves to a new town to learn how to be incredibly helpful. And her entire goal in life is just to help the other townspeople. And that's, of course, because she's a witch. And this movie is Kiki's Delivery Service, which is just, it is up there for, we've already talked about My Neighbor Totoro on this podcast. It is up there for top Ghibli, Studio Ghibli movies. These Hayao Miyazaki, the director from Japan, who made a bunch of these like Spirited Away, My Neighbor Totoro, Princess Mononoke, and of course Kiki's Delivery Service, which if you grew up in the 90s was on the Family Channel and ABC Family and Fox Family all the time. And I just think this movie is a lot of fun and it's super sweet. I think it's right at an hour and a half. It's perfect. If you've got young kids, especially young girls, the talking cat's gonna do it for them. The girl with magic powers is gonna do it. They go and have to save people from a dirigible at one point. And what kids don't love dirigibles? So it's just a fascinating movie. Sawyer, I know you've seen this movie before.
Yeah, that's a solid pick. I think you could slide a Studio Ghibli movie into every single category that we're going to talk about, if not multiple Studio Ghibli movies. And so,
yes,
yeah, well, I think watching Kiki's Delivery Service would absolutely be a wonderful decision to make.
And I think of all the Ghibli movies, except for maybe Totoro, your preschooler will just follow along perfectly.
Absolutely.
The plot, and it's very episodic. Like she goes to this house and fixes this thing and goes to this town and does this problem. And
yeah, exactly.
I think it's the perfect kind of movie. Like when I had really young kids that you can start and stop. Like you don't have to watch it in one sitting. Your kids will be able to pick it back up and just keep watching. So yeah, Kiki's Delivery Service, Gabby's Dollhouse, I believe, is on Netflix. It's a Netflix show.
Yep.
And Kiki's Delivery Service is available on HBO Max under the Studio Ghibli heading. And I believe it's coming to theaters again soon. Studio Ghibli films are some of the only ones that every year they have Ghibli Fest at theaters all across the country and just various times. Like I saw the Georgian Theater here at the Regal Theater in Ashley Park was playing My Neighbor Totoro 2 weeks ago. And you could go see him on the big screen if you wanted to. So yeah, that's our picks for To the Rescue. Talking to our kids about God made you to be helpful. God made you to be helpful. You can help. Those are two things that will bring that up. So let's go ahead and let's raise our game. Move up to the elementary level where we're talking about growing in our confidence for God, that our confidence shouldn't be in our skills or abilities, but they should primarily be in God. Now, we're probably going to talk about movies and TV shows that do maybe talk about confidence in your skills and ability, but give you the chance as a parent to say, should our confidence be in how good we are or in how good God is? That'll preach. So let's start. I did not bring a movie for this, so I'm excited to hear our picks. We're going to go ahead and let the villain of our podcast start. Sawyer Hewlett, the skeletal Koopa himself. What'd you bring for us today?
So I am bringing what, until Nathan mentioned Kiki's Delivery Service, I am bringing what I thought would probably be the best movie talked about on today's podcast. But Kiki's Delivery Service is amazing, is the thing. I'm talking about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Which is my favorite movie from that year, 2018. And
one of the best animated movies of all time.
One of them, yeah, for sure. And I'm talking about this movie because it's at its heart, it's about a kid who just experiences a lot of like microaggressions and he has a lot of insecurities that are just forcing them onto himself is the thing. And I love the movie because it's all about this kid learning to kind of tune it out and grow himself so that he can grow beyond those insecurities and these things that are like that try and get him down and stuff like that, so that he can get past that and become something better than any of them would have him be. And it's also a movie about daddy issues, and that that one always resonates for me. And so it's a great movie. I think your
I will say I don't think the movie is about that, but it features it.
Yeah, exactly. Very true.
I think the movie is about what you said earlier. It's about a young man learning to, and this I think gets you to, as a parent, an easy layup for a conversation, kind of the big impetus at the end that kind of becomes like the phrase they bring up, like the reason that they do all they do is you just have to take a leap of faith. At some point, you're never going to have enough confidence in yourself and your abilities to trust that you can do it. At some point, it's just a leap of faith.
Exactly.
And I think so I would 100% agree. I think this movie really spot on. And in about a month of this podcast episode coming out, the second installment in the Spider-Verse series, Across the Spider-Verse, will be hitting theaters. So you could do a double feature if you want.
Which is probably my most anticipated movie of the summer. I'm not going to say of the year because Dune Part 2 is coming out this year. But of the summer, I think Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is what I'm most excited for. Yeah, I think, obviously the animation is beautiful. It features maybe my favorite just single shot in an animated movie ever, when he's diving up the frame but down into New York City.
Oh, yeah.
Just
both a beautiful score and a great just soundtrack, like some great needle drops. I've mentioned before, this is one of those movies that is really emotional for us in that it and Bumblebee came out back to back right around Christmas time. And my wife and I went. This was right before we kind of got our first long-term foster placement in our home. And it was kind of the last time it was just going to be us. It was almost as if my wife was pregnant, about to give birth to a second child. It was like the last time it was going to be us and our firstborn daughter. And so she loves the Spider-Verse movies. And now all my girls love the Spider-Verse movies. And so, I think that's a great pick. And I'm going to look up where it might be available. But as we're doing that, Donnie Dorsey, why don't you tell us well, let me ask you first, Donnie. I think you've seen Spider-Verse. What do you feel about Spider-Verse?
Oh, I enjoyed it. Like, I thought it was probably one of those movies that I went into it, excited just because, it was, comic book areas of like Spider-Man and all this stuff. And it was going to be this really good animated idea, and came out of it like, wow, like they like took my expectations and blew them completely out of the water. So
it's hard to say it's the best Spider-Man movie when Spider-Man 2 exists, but it might be. It certainly is the most inventive comic book movie I think I've ever seen. And so I think it's just wonderful. So, all right, Donnie Dorsey, raising your game from preschool. What you bringing to the table, man?
So I got technically 2.
I like breaking the... You know what this is? You hit a cheat code.
I did.
And you got double points.
That's right. Let's bring it up. Down, select A, B, start. If you know, you know.
I do know. God mode, man. All right. Go ahead, Donnie Dorsey.
So one of them is, I think it's The Floor is Lava. It's actually a show on Netflix.
Ooh, my kids love this show.
And there is a level of confidence that these people have to work together to be able to accomplish these goals and go across it. It's entertaining while also watching people work together and try to go, hey, you can do this. Kind of like really building up the possibility of if they can actually complete the tasks.
I think, can you explain to them, just for people who don't know, it's a game show. Explain a little bit of what the game is. I mean, I think people can probably intuit it, but go ahead.
So the game is usually, I think it averages about 3 people per team. And the teammates are tasked with getting across what like looks like a series of like furniture items and different floating objects on top of like water. And they have to work together to, similar to how the kids game, where you avoid touching the actual lava. And you have to get across, but you have to work together with your teammates, and all of you has to get across. And as the time progresses, the items actually sometimes sink lower. And as each person goes across, things start to get, out of whack, and you have to find new ways to get across. And eventually, like even like some of like the pedestals you're supposed to climb on will sink lower. So it's a constant like invigoration of like trying to get through this whole thing while also facing the challenge of the obstacles changing. So,
I remember this show kind of coming out right around the time the pandemic started. And this is another one for my family. It was perfect when my kids were the age that we weren't watching like hour-long shows. It's right at 30 minutes. It's the perfect show because kids are laughing, people are falling, and a lot of physical comedy. But there's also a lot of like in all game shows, they should do this, jump to that, do this. So a lot of really good. And like you said, it's about confidence. You can talk to your kids about, hey, there's really no skills that go into being good at floor is lava. So at some point, you just have to take a leap of faith. You just have to try. You have to get out there, and that our faith is in God, not in ourselves. Really good. What's your second choice, Donnie?
Second one is a movie. It's Sing 2.
Ooh.
I think Sing 2 is a really good one. It deals with a couple different topics, but I think, you know, the main person, this older rock star, he's dealing with some grief, but he's also having to rebuild his confidence from all of this the loss he's experienced, and having to kind of get back to, hey, I am this person, I can do this, you know. And I think, you know, every kid, as they're growing up, they hit, you know, plateaus or moments where they feel like, I can't do this, mom or dad. And it's like, and we reassure them and go, hey, look, you know, you're capable of numerous things, and, you know, missteps are going to happen and things like that. And I mean, and God, like, enriches in us this spirit of, you know, you're capable of many things if you trust me and you walk with me, you know. And I think we can definitely like see that in this movie. So
yeah, I think Sing 2 is obviously a great choice because my kids are obsessed with the Sing movies. You as a parent may want to throw the TV out the window once they start singing these songs on repeat. But yeah, no, I think it is a great chance to have these conversations. So Sing 2 and Floor is Lava, I believe, are both available on Netflix. I think that's true. And Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is available to rent. It is also available if you have FX Now, or you have, you know, DirecTV or something like that, to be able to DVR it. It's available on FX. So very good choices. All right, we're going to keep moving up. This is me and Sawyer. Bring in some party starter type shows and movies that might kind of get things going for your teenagers, to talk about how they can be people who change the atmosphere. They can be the party stars. They can bring the life of God wherever they go. They can be the influential people, the leaders. So once again, Sawyer, let me get you go ahead and start us off. Get the party started.
Okay.
Right?
So my two movies are the first two entries of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man films, Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2. I just love these movies, and I know these are now the third Spider-Man movies that I'm talking about today. But I just love, first of all, I grew up with these movies. They are very important to me personally. But more importantly, as I've gotten older, I've realized that they're all about this character of Peter Parker having to sacrifice himself. And I don't mean like lay down his life so that others can live, but him choosing to lower himself in order to prop others up. He joins others in their suffering. It's especially his friend, Harry Osborn. He joins his friend Harry in his suffering. He sacrifices a romantic relationship with Mary Jane throughout two movies. And it's really, really great and stuff like that. He constantly is like questioning whether or not he's made the right decisions because he's so miserable. And what I love so much, especially about Spider-Man 2, is they really grapple with that question in particular, is like, is this really worth it if I'm going to be like a miserable shell of a person? And the answer is yes, because you're loving people, and that's what gives you strength is the thing. Like your love for others is what's driving you. And there's this really great sequence where it's like, all right, I guess I'm going to be Spider-Man forever. And it's just so great. And yeah, I don't want to give it away because I know that it's actually possible that some of you might not have seen the movie and some of your kids might not have seen the movies. But they're just, they're so good. And they're all about a person struggling with the ability to lead and their desire for themselves, competing with each other. And it's just, it's so good.
Well, and I think what's good about this, Sawyer, I know your intention was not to just do Spider-Man movies, but the benefit for parents is if you choose to do this and you've got elementary age kids and you've got teenagers, this might be a good triple feature. It's a whole weekend of Spider-Man movies that give you a chance to hit on all the kind of subjects of, right? Spider-Man is often the nerdy kid, right? The one who has the least money, but he steps into the spotlight and chooses to be the party starter to change the atmosphere. So I think it works. And certainly all three of those movies are also about growing in confidence. So I think it fits for any of those topics. I think that's really good. All right, and let's talk about my choice here for Party Starting. This is a movie that's available to rent. I believe if you have Amazon Prime, you can watch it on Freevee, but you got to watch it with ads. So that maybe you may just want to go ahead and pay the $3 to rent it. But this is a movie that I think a lot of maybe parents haven't even seen. It's a movie called Sing Street. This is a really just phenomenal movie that's set in the 80s, so parents will probably enjoy the kind of 80s nostalgia of it. In Ireland, about a group of teenage boys that want to start their own band, and they're kids that are often bullied and picked on, and they choose to kind of stand out and be different. And what they do is they build this community of other kind of outcasts who are willing to kind of stand up. They go to a Catholic school and they kind of stand up to the priest at one point. The priest himself is kind of bullying them. And, there's a lot of language in it, I think, and a couple of maybe like sexual references and jokes that certainly make it a PG-13 that you might not want to watch with your younger kids, but your teenagers, certainly it's going to sound like their high school. So it's not going to be new information you're giving them. But I certainly think it's a chance to do that, to talk about that idea of, hey, it's okay to stand out and it's okay to bring what's unique about you to your environment. And what should be most unique about you is that you follow Jesus and that you have the character of Jesus and that you can bring that, and that you might actually even build a community of people who want to live in a different way. And so I think it's a really good movie there. Sawyer, I think you've seen this movie before. You a fan of this?
Oh yeah, I love this movie. I saw this movie when it came out, I think, which was this 2016?
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah. I think it was my sophomore year of college, and I actually had it recommended to me by a professor of mine. And he was like, at the time it was on Netflix is the thing. He was like, just check it out. It's a great time. And me and a couple of my roommates watched it, and it really affected us because it was a movie that like was kind of what we were like trying to be, not a rock band, but like a community starter almost is what we all were kind of working towards as the thing. And it was really impactful. And we ended up actually having some really great conversations with our Bible college professor about Sing Street. Rather, it started about Sing Street and developed into like, hey, this is like what we like love most about our lives is the thing. And he was just like, yeah, like, let's talk about that. And so it's a great conversation starting movie, I think.
Donnie, have you seen Sing Street?
I haven't even heard of it before.
Well, this is one you're going to need to check out, Donnie. I will say for 80s music lovers, the soundtrack is incredible.
Yeah.
Just some of that incredible new wave punk type sound. That's just a lot of fun. And for anyone who's ever been in a band, I was in a band in high school. It captures that emotion of it just perfectly. So we're actually going to just put the brakes on right here. For those of you that are listening to the podcast, I'm going to toss it back here to the very handsome Nathan. But if you want to hear some recommendations, this is the family movie night portion being done. But if you want some like parents only recommendation, there may even be like an R-rated movie in the list for parents to watch. You're going to have to get the Parent Q app. That section of this podcast will be on that website. And so if you get the Parent Q app, you'll be able to get a link to that. But right now, I'm going to toss it back to that handsome devil himself. Nathan, take it away.
Well, thanks, Nathan, for sending this back to us over here. We are so excited that for you guys over the next month to be able to really just have great conversations with
Absolutely.
your kids.
And like we said at the beginning of the episode, Parent Q is the place to go to give you guys the tools we've been talking about. I mean, we think it is just awesome conversation starters, awesome information that's really quite simple for you guys to just get your hands on and stay in communication with your kids and with what we have going on in the church.
So you can download Parent Q in the link in the description. You can also send us more questions. Our last mini episode, we answered a question. We're hoping to have more questions going forward. So click on that link in the description. You can also send us, if there are things you go, hey, there's like something, a kind of movie I want to watch with my kids, but I don't know,
TV shows.
Yeah, that I want to watch, but I don't know what to watch. Tell us, give us some suggestions on what to talk about. We'll do that. We want to hear from you guys. But most importantly, we want to help you guys be not great parents, but really good and godly parents. So we will see you guys next time.
Have a good one.